Okay, I think we can get started. Looks like we are live. Thank you all for joining us. My name's Katie O'Toole. I'm here in Insight Global's Pittsburgh office, although I do staff internationally and nationwide. I've been with Insight Global for about 8 years now, almost, and I started in IT recruiting and led a couple teams there. And now I'm a lead hiring partner as part of our digital team. And what I do is I source, screen, interview, onboard, and help retain solid employees for our clients. And over my time here, I've really seen drastic improvements in our clients' culture, employee retention, and performance. Those are the three big areas for me. Since we've implemented a lot of these changes, we've really tracked a lot of that. And so we wanted to talk about that here today. And over the last 5 years, especially, we've really listened, talked, and evolved to give employees a better experience. That's what really helps retention. And so today we're going to talk a lot about just what works best and what sort of engagement plan and program impacts those three areas of culture, retention, and performance the most. And we'll go over a lot of big picture, so almost like surface level stuff. But if you are interested in learning a little bit more specifically, you can actually talk to us directly. So my team is going to put in the chat a link to schedule a meeting with me. My calendar availability should be in there. And we can talk a little bit more about your specific team and how you think that we might be able to help with you, whether it's consulting for your culture, if it's professional services, more long-term projects, or regular staff augmentation or staffing or hiring. We can help with all of that. I'm also joined here today by my colleague, Jakayla. She works a little bit more on our professional services and Insight Global Evergreen side. So, hey, Jakayla.
Hi, thanks, Katie. Yeah, I'm super excited to be talking about this topic today. It's something that I know we're both really, really passionate about. So I'm Jakayla Story. I have been with Insight Global for a little over 4 years now. Started in a similar role as Katie, was doing a lot of client-facing work, and then made my way into culture and leadership and team effectiveness work. And now I have the privilege of serving as our consultant success manager within Insight Global's professional services division, Evergreen. And that has just been such a cool opportunity so far. It really started because of some of the things Katie mentioned, just the way that we are continuing to expand the way we think about taking care of our consultants, focusing on how we retain and develop our consultants all across our business. But my specific role is really thinking about how we do that in Evergreen and just how we drive out our engagement plan effectively within this population. So, really excited to talk about that, some of our differences between Insight Global as a whole, as well as our professional services division, Evergreen, and just give you all a little bit more of the lay of the land there. So, Katie, I know you started to tee it up a little bit, but with you having experience here over the past 8 years, you've really been able to see firsthand how Consultant Engage has been completely transformed at
Mhm.
Insight Global. So, would love for you to talk a little bit more about that process, how that happened, and where we are today.
Yeah, it really has been the last 5 years that it's been so different. So we always think of the COVID time during 2020 as kind of like a catalyst for change, really all over the nation in terms of workforce and how we look at it. But especially here at Insight Global, we implemented our consultant engagement program. So if we can all think back to 2020, just remember how many layoffs were going on. I mean, companies were literally closing their doors. We had a ton of really scared employees, scared consultants all over with our clients. They didn't know what to do, where to turn, how to treat their people, how to talk to their people. Their people didn't know where they stood. So, just again, a lot of uncertainty. And because of that, people started to look at their jobs, I think, with a different lens. And so we saw a lot more people leave. Retention, a lot of our clients struggled with retention or attrition. In other words, people quitting all the time, leaving, declining offers out of fear and uncertainty. So we started to really see over communication as kind of like a key to success. And so we changed even little things at first. For example, you'll notice Jakayla and I are using that term consultant. So usually with other companies, you might hear the word temp. And so it just kind of has a negative connotation. I always kind of joke for any fans of The Office out there, that series. There's a character on there named Ryan, and they call him the temp. and they tease them for it because it is this negative connotation. And so consultant, I mean, if nothing less, just kind of humanizes the people that we're talking about, lets them know they are valued, they're taken a bit more seriously. And also because we do see them as long-term resources who we can rehire again and again. And that's typically comforting for our clients to hear as well, that we, see them as long-term resources, because how great is that as a client if you can know, if you're hiring someone from Insight Global, that they probably have worked for a couple of our other clients in the past as well and done well in those positions too. So anyway, what do we do with these consultants that we're talking about? We actually take them on a journey. Again, our consultant engagement journey. It starts with an offer, and then we take that all the way through to offboarding. And a little bit beyond that as well. And really, again, it's over communication. So we do have a cadence for that, and it begins with orientation, which is a call prior to their start date. We do check-ins. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Do you have all your equipment? What's going on? What are you working on? Has anything changed? Just general touch points. And then we also do performance reviews, both on the client side and the consultant side. And so we do these things for short-term hires if someone's going to be working for us for one day, but we also do them for long-term hires if they're going to be working for us for 15 years sometimes. And so that's really where Jacayla comes in, typically with our evergreen programs. So Jacayla, I'd love to hear your perspective too on rehiring and just kind of seeing consultants as long-term resources as opposed to short-term temps.
Yeah, definitely. So, Katie, when you're talking about that rehiring, we've even started a whole term behind that. We've really started a movement behind when we are rehiring these consultants and trying to make sure we're putting our boots on the ground immediately to do so. And that is through redeployment. So, just thinking again of our workforce as just that, our consultants are just as much a part of our brand as our full-time employees. And so it's a part of our business, our framework, to find those ways to continue to help them be an extension of our brand much long term. And so I think that something that's important to mention is how we also looked so heavily into our NPS score. A big part of my role, as well as a whole team at Insight Global's role, is to think about this NPS score and really be keeping up with the ways that we are performing there. So NPS actually stands for Net Promoter Score. And for us in our industry, the industry average is around 30%, while Insight Global over the past 5 years has seen a tremendous leap, and we are now double that at 68% at the end of 2024, something that we are super proud of. And I think that this is just a big extension of our brand and the way that we're taking care of our consultants, because at the end of the day, that net promoter score comes from the ways that our consultants rate how they would recommend us to a family or friend. So that is something we don't take lightly, that we're really proud of in the way that we're able to find them more opportunities, the ways that we're able to hopefully keep them long term in their employment with Insight Global. And so, like you mentioned, within Insight Global's professional services division, Evergreen, that is my whole role, is thinking about within this division, we have so many consultants who are with us on average of 12 to 14 months, while in Insight Global as a whole, we have traditionally seen more short-term staffing projects around 6 months on average. So while we're having these long-term projects, we understand that it's a bigger responsibility of ours to take care of our consultants, keep up with them in the ways that they're experiencing their culture, really trying to retain them, but also upskill and develop them while they're here during that time with us. So some of the things that look a little differently in Insight Global's professional services division, Evergreen, is thinking about, again, that development piece a lot during their time with us. Examples of this look like our consultant training series that we're really excited that we rolled out this year, talking about things like AI and emerging technology to keep our consultants aware of what's happening in the world, but also things like their professional development, how they can be thinking ahead when it comes to interviewing skills or their just public speaking presence, as well as things like finding their purpose, those personal development things that are really, really helpful for them to get as well. making sure that we're also finding ways for our consultants to have additional opportunities, whether that's certifications or conferences, more and more things that they're looking for when they're with us for such a longer period of time, sometimes even years. So this is just really allowing for us to, again, be able to make that experience something that they feel really proud of, being able to represent the Insight Global and our professional services division brand. So I think that this is a great call out for any of the clients on the call. It's important that you should prioritize working with a vendor that's very people centric. Are they thinking about the ways that their consultants are experiencing the workplace? Are they talking about the culture and those values? And are they trying to look for ways to develop and upskill their workforce? Once again, we really understand that it's an extension of who we are, and our ultimate goal is just to deliver to our clients the best and find the best opportunities as well for those consultants. So, going beyond staffing is what we do and what we're really known for. And I think that just brings up so many questions that you all probably have, probably are coming in the chat at this time. And Katie, I'd love to just go over some of those frequently asked questions that you've heard from our clients as well that would be really helpful for them.
Yeah, we'll go over just the common ones that I typically see. And a big one is about orientation. And so, why is orientation so important? I think it's because it's the first impression for them to have that job. So, for us, what should be on an orientation? What should that include? First of all, I think the timing of it is really important. It should not be happening when they're already at their first day of their job. This should be prior. It's about mental preparation so that they can set themselves up for success on the first day. So it'll include logistic details beyond what can be put in an email, right? It's not just show up at this address at 9 a.m. It's instructions for arrival. Where can they park? Any traffic patterns they should be aware of. How many buildings are there? Are they going in the correct one? When they get in the building, is there a security desk that they'll need to check in with, or is someone going to be waiting there to pick them up with a badge? How do they get their badge? All of those things for logistics of how to get in and what to do when you arrive. And then whenever they do get there, is there someone who they can contact? They have like a cell phone number maybe of someone they can call if they get lost. And then also we usually recommend bringing whoever's going to train them on that call as well. So not just their supervisor, but anyone they're going to be shadowing or who's going to be important in that first week too, so that they can set expectations for what they want to see from them. And then, they also know what to expect as well. Technology expectations are important too. What will you have access to? What won't you have access to? I have a lot of clients where only full time or direct employees have access to a lot of their systems. So, what is that going to look like? When can they expect a hiccup? Being a consultant or in their system as like a contracted employee, those are important too. And then also, what we like to go over to is success stories. Is there someone on the team who they can kind of shadow and emulate who's done really well in this role? But it's also important on that orientation too, also to kind of ingrain the person in culture. It's really, again, that first impression. And so, Jakayla, I think this is your wheelhouse. If you don't mind talking to us about culture and how we ingrain that in not only the orientation, but also kind of like the rest of the engagement process too.
Yeah, totally. So culture is an entire bucket of the way we think about orientations within Insight Global and our professional services division, Evergreen. So it is culture, performance, and experience that we're highlighting in those orientations. And culture is really that time for a lot of those things that you talked about, Katie, as well as some of those kind of unspoken rules that we encounter whenever we come into a new role. Those unspoken rules of actually there's an A and a B lunch. You take lunch at
Mhm.
11:30 or 12:30. Well, maybe I never knew that until I got into my first week, right? So we're asking the client those questions in real time or doing some discovery beforehand to understand from them what are those unsaid rules that happen you remember when you came onto the job. But also, we're even taking the time to go over the values, not only the values of our clients, but also the values of Insight Global, which we typically recognize that there's a lot of overlap. And we love for our consultants to see that overlap, to be able to talk about what shared value is really important for them, what things are typically harder to model than others. Maybe if there's any type of additional ways that we recognize people who exemplify those shared values, which we do a lot of here at Insight Global. So it's just really cool to get them ingrained in that, to feel that. And again, it just helps them feel more of an extension of our brand very early on. We just see that that helps so much with retention, which is going to be a theme here for sure. But that culture conversation is really, really helpful, just when it comes to them being able to feel more acclimated very early on after that
Mhm.
orientation. And Katie, that just reminds me, we get the question all the time of how do you continue to engage your consultants after the orientation? Because some people think it stops
Yeah.
right there. But I think it's important for us that we continue that momentum, right? That is still a time that is very much often seen as a time where attrition can happen, right? Because you get out of orientation and maybe there is a lack of understanding of the role still, or maybe there are some things that feel like they didn't match the orientation. So it's important for us to continue that conversation very early on. We actually have a first week check in that we do in our engaged process that Katie mentioned, to make sure that we are readdressing that orientation. We're saying, hey, does everything still fit from what you
Mhm.
learned in orientation? Are you still experiencing the organization in that way? Anything that we can take from you at this point in time, based off of the ways that you are experiencing the organization, that we could use for someone else in the future. Just being able to continue those check-ins is really, really important to us, as well as even performance reviews. The way that we do this within Insight Global's professional services division is something that's really, really important to us. Being able to talk about, yes, are we meeting deadlines? Are we performing well on this program one-on-one with the consultant? But also being able to talk with them about how they're doing on their goals. If they have a goal of converting with that client, or maybe working long term with Evergreen, we want to tell them how they're tracking on that and what things are beneficial for them to know in their skill set that they could be potentially improving on in this time. So, if it's public speaking or if it's with some technology, being able to give them that real time feedback of ways
Mhm.
they can improve are things that we want to be doing post orientation. Katie, any other things that you can think of that are important there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head too with just this theme of kind of over communication of real time feedback. And so, another common question I was thinking of that we get all the time is how often should you be talking to your employees? And so, I always say it's weekly. You need to have weekly one on ones with the supervisor and the employee. And that is when you can actually have the most effective real time feedback, Jaquela, that you're talking about and lead ultimately to the fastest improvement so that overall performance is good. So again, don't wait until that quarterly performance review to talk to them about something that they're doing wrong or could be doing better, because by that point it's festered all quarter, and so it's probably gotten worse. And rather than kind of talking about it, have that weekly one-on-one already on the books. And I think that having something on the calendar is ultimately helpful for you as a leader. I've led teams before, and I lead a small team now, and I know how busy you can get, and sometimes people can fall through the cracks, and you don't know how they're feeling. Or you might think someone's doing okay, and then all of a sudden they quit, or they come to you and they're like, hey, I'm really struggling right now. And you had no idea. But if you have those weekly one on ones, you can nip things in the bud a lot faster, so that, again, they don't fester on that quarterly performance review, or, hopefully not even on the year end review. And then, of course, we do like more formal big picture reviews too, and touch points, Jaquela, that you were talking about. We try to do those customizable, but usually about every 4 to 6 weeks. Or as often as needed. And if someone is struggling with performance and they need to improve majorly in an area and it does become a little bit more serious, we can actually customize a performance plan for you and your team as well, so that we can have additional touch points. We can give them certain improvement percentages that they need to hit, or numbers they need to hit by a certain date, Again, it's customizable, but weekly one-on-ones with the supervisor. And then Insight Global, we always recommend that we'll come in and do performance reviews and touch points on about 4 to 6 weeks throughout the duration of the contract. And of course, if they need anything before then, in the meantime, we're talking to them through that as well. And then another thing that we talk a lot about with our clients is offboarding. I know that's huge. So, Jakayla, what does offboarding look like in your world or in your opinion? And how should our clients kind of look at that?
Yeah, totally. Offboarding goes back to that topic of redeployment for me. That's immediately what I think of because weeks prior to what we know as that consultant's end date, we are immediately thinking boots on the ground. Where can we find them their next opportunity with Insight Global? Or again, our professional services evergreen. It's always really, really helpful to find our consultants something that is within that niche skill set that they have had and that they've been continuing to work upon over the course of their program. So, redeployment is definitely the biggest one. And I think that with the tools that we have and the tools that we're even hoping to create in the future, this is a very, very big topic for us. We're actually even the whole entire program or the whole entire project that that consultant is on, we're keeping up, like you said, with their performance. We're understanding what things are they really growing in? How has their skill set now changed over the course of the past, 12 months, right? So we're able to take all that information and get even better at the ways that we're looking for roles for them now at this point
Mhm.
in time based off of that data that we have. So I think that that is very important for us, just trying to get that started as quickly as we can and speaking with that consultant very transparently on what we do have for them in the loop at that point in time. Any other things that are maybe a little different for you when it comes to the programs that you work on?
Yeah, I think that again, it's that over communication. So I look at offboarding from two perspectives. I think that the first perspective is with the client. They probably sometimes are uncertain of whether or not someone is going to end by a certain date. They're waiting for new quarter budget approval to come in. They just don't know. So they don't say anything to the consultant or to us. And that typically is the worst thing that can happen because there's just a lack of communication. And if the answer is we don't know yet, I think that that consultant, that employee kind of has the right to know because they will be wondering what's going on with me. Am I going to be able to put food on the table next month, next quarter, next week? And so we always recommend trying to get about 6 weeks ahead of that, even if the answer is we don't know yet. Staying in touch with them to be able to retain them. And then, of course, we know where they stand if they are going to be, interviewing anywhere or we just know where they stand as well. And then I love that you brought up redeployment. For those who aren't familiar with that term and what that means to us at Insight Global, it just means that we often try to rehire those consultants. So if someone is ending, for example, I had a really, really strong SQL developer who was working for a local government client of ours for many years. She was with me at Insight Global, and she just completed her long-term project. And so we've been, trying to help her to see what other clients could use that skill set. And I feel so confident presenting her to my clients anywhere in the nation because I know that she's done such a good job and I know the project very well, like the back of our hand that she was working on. And so, how cool is that for our clients to know that, again, we have that network of people that we redeploy very
Mhm.
often. So, I got excited when you were talking about redeployment.
I love that. That's
Um,
cute.
yeah. And then so hopefully that took you a little bit through a surface level or high level journey of how we look at the consultant journey of offboarding, or excuse me, onboarding and orientation all the way through offboarding and how we kind of have improved our perspective of employing these consultants. And then again, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you want to talk more specific and detail, or if you have questions for us about how this might pertain to your organization, my team just put in the chat a link to my calendar availability. You can feel free to schedule a meeting with me there. We'll chat on Microsoft Teams, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, whether it be through staffing or hiring, as well as professional services, long term projects like Evergreen. So thank you so much, and I hope to talk to a lot of you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla.